Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Marie Opara. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I'm actually getting ready to go to a friend's birthday party and a thought came to my head. So I wanted to talk about it with you while I get ready to go out. We're gonna do a get ready with me. So I was just thinking to myself that and when you're preparing for a night out or you're preparing to go to a birthday dinner or just to like a birthday party, you just know that at some point in the night, like, alcohol will be involved for like a majority of people. And even sometimes, like, even pre-drinking is something that is one of the first things you do before actually getting to the destination that you're going to. And it just made me think about people who are alcoholics, people who chronically indulge in alcohol, and how society has made social drinking a thing, and how a lot of people have to kind of navigate those kind of social situations, and yeah, and just how difficult that must be for them. So, like, what is alcoholism? Alcoholism is basically people who find that they are quite dependent on alcohol. It's almost as though you cannot function without indulging in alcohol. And if you don't drink any alcohol, you start to experience what we call withdrawal symptoms. So just to give you some facts, alcohol dependence affects about 4% of people in the United Kingdom aged between 16 to 65 years of age. So in 2012, there were about 6,490 deaths reported from alcohol-related deaths. And that's literally increased by 11% since the previous year, and I'm pretty sure that that number is still going up with the way that alcohol is just becoming so much more commonplace in our society. So someone who is dependent on alcohol, if they don't give their body alcohol, they usually go through something called withdrawal symptoms, and the first 48 hours tend to be the most difficult and the most intense, because they won't be able to sleep, they'll feel very anxious, they will literally have shakes and shivers and sweats, and they'll run a fever. But this usually goes away after about 3 to 7 days. It starts to normalize, but these symptoms can be more intense depending on the person's level of dependence to alcohol. And usually patients who are chronically dependent on alcohol go through something called delirium tremens, and that literally is almost the final state of the withdrawal symptoms, and that is where they will start hallucinating, and for some people it's very, very deadly. It is very, 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 very deadly. But you know what, there are a lot of support networks available for people who are alcohol dependent. For example, there's Alcohol Anonymous, I actually had the pleasure of being able to see what an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting was like. They came and visited us and gave us a bit of a sneak preview of what their sessions were like, so that we would be able to recommend them to patients who required the services. And it's basically an international organization who it's free of charge. All they do is they accept donations from members, and they run their own meetings quite independently, and you have a sponsor, and they support each other, encourage each other in their journey to overcoming alcoholism. So a bit about the AA. They have something called a 12-step program, and it's 12 steps that someone who is battling with alcoholism basically has to go through each step in their own pace. And the belief is that as you pass through each step, you are on a spiritual journey that allows you to overcome your dependence to alcohol. So I know I say spiritual journey, but they're a non-religious organization, and I found that really interesting, because when you listen, I'm going to read out their 12-step process to you, and when you listen to it, it seems really religiously charged, but when you do listen to it, it almost seems like it's taken from the Bible. But they say that spirituality is kind of like the backbone to how do I put it, like in everyday life, in every circumstance that we all find ourselves in, like spirituality is the fuel that drives us. So they try to incorporate that in their programs without discriminating and making it religious charge, so that everyone can feel like they can get involved even if they're non-religious. So number one for the AA is we admit that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So it's kind of like taking responsibility for how things were. You know, they always say that acceptance is the beginning to recovery, accepting that they had a problem. And then the second one is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And I think that's where like the religious context, in my opinion, or the spiritual context starts to come in, because it's almost like there's this saying where it's like, it's above me now. It's like, you know, it's almost like saying by my own might I couldn't do it, but now that there's a greater driving force that I will not associate to any religion, but there is a greater force there for me, caring for me, who will help me overcome. So number 3 is I've made a decision to turn we've made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of, well, it actually says the care of God as we understand him. And I remember asking them, like, why is it God? So is this like a Christian thing? And they were just kind of like, it doesn't have to be like a Christian God. It could be anyone's God. Like, they use God in a very one size fits all type of thing. Number 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory to ourselves. So it's like now you're looking into yourself and you are now trying to be more accountable to yourself and your actions. Number 5, admit to God, to ourselves, and to other human beings the exact nature of our wrongs. So number 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Number 7, humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. Number 8, made a list of all persons we have harmed and become willing to make amends with them. So it's like the first one is like, it's like your starting process, and now like they're actively going out there and doing that, they kind of seek forgiveness from them and seek closure. So it's almost like by righting their wrongdoings, they're vindicating themselves and allowing themselves to move forward and do better and be better. Number 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure themselves and others. So I mean, like, if you know the person is not trying to hear what you have to say, and they'll probably just kill you for even coming near them, then probably not the best thing to do. Number 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Then, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. I think it's nice to have this kind of support, you know, just to not feel like you are alone. Because as I said, in a world where, you know, alcohol has become such a social thing, whereby in every environment you go in, you're constantly having alcohol thrown in your face. Friends are drinking, friends are encouraging you to drink, you know, like during Lent, I tend to just give up alcohol for 40 days. There's points in the year where I would just say, you know what, I'm not going to drink alcohol at all. I'm just kind of giving myself a cleanse. And I know, like, whenever I go out with my friends and I'm like, oh no guys, I'm not really drinking today, you know, the response I get is like, no, why? We're having fun, just have a drink. And it's just like, I know I can have fun even without drinking, but it's just seen as being sociable. Even in the workplace, we all have this pressure of, you know, like you want to get closer to your boss, so you really want to interact with the team, and everyone wants to go to the pub and have a drink after work. And if you're the one who's like, oh, you know what, I'm not really, you know, I'm not gonna come because I don't drink alcohol, or you're ordering apple juice at the pub, they're kind of just looking at you like, is there a reason for all of this extra behavior? But, you know, it's nice to have a group where you can go to, and you know that there's other people who will support you in that journey, and you don't have to feel as though you have to consistently explain yourself and explain why you're abstaining. You know, I just want to put that this is not a sponsored video. I'm not making this video because Alcoholics Anonymous has contacted me and said please advertise us, but I just, from hearing what they had to say that day, I really identified with it, and I thought, wow, this is great, and this is something people should know about, and people should be able to connect with if they have use for it. Like with Alcoholics Anonymous, it doesn't have to be exactly the organization. You can contact them and say, hey, in my local area we want to start something like this, and they will give you the tools you need to carry this along, because it's literally just a group of people coming together to talk and to support each other. What am I even doing next? I think I forgot my blush, so I might just highlight. Right, so there are some medical interventions that can help someone who is trying to quit drinking. These are all good for kind of dealing with symptoms of withdrawal, and also kind of helping to wean you off that urge for alcohol. There's other things available as well, like CBT. I'm going to talk about CBT in a different video, and I'm a great believer in counseling, because I feel like it's nice for us to have a kind of emotional outlet, somewhere that we can talk about our feelings and talk about the things that bother us in our day-to-day lives, and be able to have someone who we can talk to about it. Because one thing about therapy, it's not about going for someone to give you answers, but it's for you to be able to search yourself and find those answers within yourself, and be able to trust in your own self and in your own ability to make these right decisions. So yeah, I'm definitely a big advocate of CBT and such things. And it's also good to keep a drinking diary, just for you to kind of like be able to have a look and say, how much am I drinking? You know, if you're in doubt about whether or not you have a drinking problem, it's just good for you to be able to keep a diary and just check, like, how many days are you drinking, how much are you drinking, are you staying within your limits, within the appropriate units? Are you overdoing it? You know, is drinking affecting you? Do you feel guilty about your drinking? Does it stop you from getting on with your day-to-day lives? Has it ever made you feel down and depressed and wanting to commit suicide? These are all red flags you need to look out for in order to gauge alcohol dependency. The fact that, you know, it's just becoming such a social thing, and we should all just try our best to be very aware about how much we're drinking, who we're drinking around, and just be respectful of like the situations people are in. And like, even though that we're older, we, you know, peer pressure is still a thing. At any age, peer pressure is still a thing. That person that you're literally trying to be like, no, down it, mate. Oh! You know, you don't know what situation they're in. As much as alcohol is available everywhere, it's still a drug, and it is associated with liver diseases, cognitive impairment issues, weight gain. Like, alcohol takes the lead when it comes to weight gain. Forget fast food. I mean, a lot of the time we drink our calories, so that's something to bear in mind. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish my makeup. Yeah, so I went ahead and put my eyelashes on off camera, because I didn't want to come off on my hand. Like, me and eyelashes, we're not the best of friends. I'm not very good at eyelashes. I don't actually put them on a day-to-day basis. In fact, I don't really do makeup on a day-to-day basis. So, I mean, I shall try it. So it's been great chatting with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this little chit chat and you found it informative, just hearing a bit more about AA. My main reason for really wanting to talk about it is just to kind of share my opinion on how commonplace I feel just social drinking is becoming, and just to let everyone know that there is support out there if you need to engage with it. So I hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to share with your friends and family, and hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think. Give me your opinion on social drinking, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.